WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and WNST.net. Always fun to get this next guy on the program. The Kelly family does a lot of things around the community. If you're familiar with Calvert Hall, obviously for many, many years, many family members, many chains in the Kelly link there as well. But this is a special week. Frank Kelly's joining us now. Not from Calvert Hall or from Kelly or Citizen Kelly or son of Senator Kelly, any of that stuff, but you do Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and you invite me every year. And some years my wife's a blonde, some years she's a brunette. This year she's going to be a redhead for you. So yeah, it's great. And her hair's a little longer, and it's always real, her hair, when she comes. But I've seen Lou Holtz speak. I've seen Ben Watson speak. This year you got John Harbaugh, and I want to give you a little ground, a little breath to talk about all the stuff you're doing with FCA, and especially over Martins West this week with Coach Harbaugh, because this is your big week, and I want to give you a chance to talk about everything that's going on.
Well, thanks, Nestor. I really appreciate it. We're real excited. Each year we have what we call a victory celebration, and it's a fundraising banquet. FCA is a nonprofit. It's funded by donations by people like you and me. And this year, next Monday, March 4th, 6 p.m. at Martins West, we have John Harbaugh as our keynote speaker. We all know him as our great Baltimore Super Bowl champion head football coach, and a great man, as we know, a man of high integrity, a man of faith, and he's going to be sharing some of his story, the ups and downs of life and faith and family and football. And he's a great communicator. It's a chance to kind of be in a room, to hear directly from him, to connect with him, and to allow him the freedom to speak about more than just football, too. So we're real excited about it.
Well, I'm having a little fun here on the video cam out on Facebook and YouTube. I found the good sign that they handed out. The other side has the Ravens, that they were handing the signs out, good with the exclamation. And I put it behind me just to make it feel like it's football season in here, because we got combine and draft and all that stuff. And I know Coach all this week is out in Indy. I have been on planes and in cabs and in hotels and at combine meetings, and I know this is a really busy week. The one thing, and I'm in front of Coach all the time, and Coach and I are friends, and we text back and forth, and he's got the extension now and all of that, but I have never seen him give one of these kind of speeches, right? Like, I've seen him on the video, I've seen the good thing, I've been with him in personal situations when my wife was fighting for her life, and he would visit with me after games and ask me how she's doing. I mean, I've seen John in a lot of different environments, but this is the one thing I've never seen him do, which is get in front of a group and give the kind of speech that Lou Holtz gave. And I don't know what the cornerstones of that speech are, but I know you've seen John speak in the past, and I know getting him out was a big part of what you've been trying to do with the organization the last couple of years. Can't have him every year, but it's nice to have him this year.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story, Nestor. John spoke 5 years ago when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, and he committed in October after they had lost a few games in a row. At the time, it didn't look like they were going to be a Super Bowl team, as we all remember. They were like hovering around 500, or maybe even slightly under, and he then said, all right, I'll commit to speak at the FCA banquet in March. Well, by God's grace, the Ravens went on to win the Super Bowl, so all of a sudden, our platform speaker that year was Super Bowl coach, John Harbaugh. And he was phenomenal then. Obviously, a number of years later, he has the ability to connect with people when he speaks.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. I mean, and when he chooses not to, as a media member, we feel that too. Trust me. I mean, I'm 10 feet away from a lot. This is going to be new, though, for me. And
Great.
And talking to young people, because your room is so filled with, leadership and servant leadership and everything that your organization is about. This is a different kind of group for him, I think.
Right. Well, there will be young people there. We'll usually have about 1,000 people or more there. And it's all about ultimately connecting and helping young people. It's about using the platform and influence of sport, the influence of coaches and athletes to share the good news and to help student athletes and coaches fulfill their God-given potential, mentally, physically, spiritually. We talk about three-dimensional athletes, three-dimensional coaches. And not just coaching to win, but coaching or win the game, but to coach to win in life. And John's that kind of guy. What I love about John, too, I don't know if his daughter will be there. She's a very good high school lacrosse player. She's actually committed to play lacrosse at Notre Dame. And, I always love looking down there on the sideline during the national anthem. He's always got his daughter by his side, and I'm hoping she'll be there as well. It's a family affair type of thing. I know my wife will be there, and I'm glad your wife will be there with Redhead. red hair this year. I think my wife will still be blonde, but it'll be a great night on a lot of fronts.
Frank Kelly joining us here, of course, from Kelly as well as Calvert Hall and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's mdfca.org is the way to find this. Give me your background at FCA, because I've heard you get up and give a short speech in certain years and welcoming people in, but the first day you discovered it, where it comes from, your leadership and doing it here for so many years and being a part of it. And again, this is your Super Bowl. You've had some of the best speakers over the last decade that I see every single year, and you invite me every year. But having a coach out makes it even a little bit more close to home, I think, this year. To wonder, how did you get involved in all of this?
Well, I appreciate the question. I'm a Baltimore boy like you, and grew up locally, public school kid, but ended up at Calvert Hall mainly through Coach Augie Maselli back in the late 70s. He offered me a little financial assistance. I was able to go to Calvert Hall. It mattered a lot to our family at the time, and played football, lacrosse there. Ended up at Cornell University, played a couple years of football, 4 years of lacrosse there. And it was at Cornell that I kind of had a little spiritual awakening, and God used some athletes to communicate some truth to me about what it meant to have a relationship with Him, not just religion and not just checking a box or going through the motions, but having an exciting daily relationship with God. And when I graduated Cornell, I was really excited about some of the things I learned, so I went back to Calvert Hall and started a little fellowship for athletes. We didn't even call it that at the time. It was kind of just an independent group, and the summer of '87, I learned about this thing called FCA, and Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and they do camps, they do campus ministry, they do a lot with coaches, they do a lot in the community, and I went to a camp, and saw that they had football and basketball and soccer, and they were integrating life and faith into sport, and I just thought it was awesome.
And you weren't far out of being a student at that point, right? Like, you were in the college sort of, you were 20, 21, 22, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Just graduated Cornell. I'm 22, 23 years old, and started a little group at Calvert Hall, and it's grown. Now we're in over 200 schools with what are called huddles. We have several dozen folks on staff helping volunteers like me and others who are coaches who want to learn how to integrate faith and life into everything they do. And we have a great three-dimensional coaching program, helping coaches coach not only the mind and the body, but the heart. And, we all recognize the influence of sport in our life. We recognize the influence of coaches in our life, and FCA is just helping coaches and athletes fulfill that potential. I was telling you, Nestor, earlier, I had I've been involved over 30 years. This past weekend, I was out in Tucson, Arizona at a conference that FCA hosted. And
that's their Super Bowl, right? Like their annual, right?
That's right, an annual Super Bowl. So hundreds of people from around the country who have been involved with FCA. But one of the speakers was Case Keenum, the great quarterback out of the University of Houston, broke all kinds of NCAA records. He's been in the NFL 7 years. He's been with 6 different teams in 7 years. This year he played for Denver. Now, he didn't mention our good friend Joe Flacco's name he didn't mention him by name, but he said, I was with Denver this past year, 4,000 yards passing, but I don't think I'm going to be with them this year. I'm not sure, but I don't think I'm going to be with Denver this year. And, but he was he and his wife spoke, beautiful man of faith and really humble, godly man. Who knows where he'll end up? Who knows? Maybe he'll be on the same team with Joe. I know we're going to all miss Joe. What a legend he's been here in Baltimore, and, just a great football player as well.
Well, talking about Joe just a little bit. By the way, Frank Kelly joining us here. Fellowship of Christian Athletes has their big event next Monday night. It is out at Martin's West, where all the great events are. You can find them, mdfca.org. And, of course, Frank's easy to find over Calvert Hall or Kelly. The football side of this and what you've done in sport and where we are, I'm starting a Baltimore Positive movement to create my own leadership. And I always love the way you say thank you for your leadership whenever I have led or when anybody has led, so I'm going to be stealing or borrowing that one, if you don't mind, as well. But just where sports is in our culture and what lacrosse has meant to your life and where the Orioles are right now, where they're going to lose a lot of games, where the Ravens are with a half-empty stadium. And I couldn't give my PSLs away last year. I know you're a season ticket holder. The Joe thing is an interesting part of this, and I know Eric and John are going to draft new football players. We're going to have new blood here, people like Lamar and Lamar 1. But Joe, on the way out, out, it was a different kind of exit than maybe we would have seen for a Super Bowl hero. There's not going to be any statue. There's not going to be any of that. And Joe was a little maligned on the way up, but I tell you what, when he left last week, to go online and see true appreciation for him that maybe we didn't feel, week to week around here the last couple of years when things weren't going so well, I thought that was nice because Joe Flacco, when you mention my favorite people and people I've been involved in sports, Joe Flacco is my favorite all-time Baltimore professional athlete for a lot of reasons. I'm writing a Dear Joe Flacco letter to him in a couple of weeks, but seeing these eras sort of come and go, and Frank Robinson died a couple weeks ago, right? Messina gets in the Hall of Fame now. Machado's going to wear a Padre hat. Boy, times come and go, and they move around, don't they, Frank? When you stay around as long as you and I have, right?
Right. There's no question. Time, nothing stays still. Everything changes. We're so fortunate, Nestor, to be a part of a great community in Baltimore. And we know, as a community, as a city, we've had our ups and our downs and our highs and our lows. And we've had some big highs and we've had some low lows. But Joe Flacco was a high guy. And we just, to think, kind of local and being a University of Delaware guy who comes and, makes it big and takes us to a Super Bowl and wins it. And, and he's a first-class guy. He's a family guy, great wife, great kids. Never did anything to embarrass the team, never did anything to embarrass the community. And look, you know this, as soon as he's gone a year or two, he's going to be remembered as a legend. He will be a Baltimore football legend. And, maybe not in the ilk of Johnny U, but, right behind him as a Super Bowl champion quarterback. And I wish him nothing but the best. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends his career here someday, but I wish him the best, and I'm excited for the Ravens, too, going forward.
It's an interesting second act for him to go out to Denver and continue whatever it is he's done. Frank Kelly joining us here. We're talking all things football. John Harbaugh, I'm sure, will be talking about Joe Flacco and Lamar Jackson and Ray Lewis and leadership and all that in front of you. What else are you guys doing for Fellowship of Christian? I mean, on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis, give a little bit of the elevator pitch for me of what you will be saying next Monday night. For folks out there listening with children involved, or want to get involved in any way, I know you're always out sort of doing the leadership thing and recruiting people to say, we got a good message here with FCA.
Right. Well, thanks for the question, Nestor. We're in over 200 schools with faith-based, what we call huddles, and they're voluntary groups that kids can join. Usually they're student-led. Sometimes they're led by a coach, and it's a chance to kind of connect and be a part of a group that's allowing you to ask questions about life and faith, God, His Word, the Bible, and to grow in that relationship with God. We do a lot with camps, summer camps. We'll have thousands of kids from the Baltimore, Maryland area go to FCA camps. FCA will have over 100 different camps around the country and around the world. Over 100,000 kids and coaches will participate in FCA camps. So you're not just going and learning how to be a better football player, basketball player, soccer player, golfer, even a surfer. You're going to learn about how to integrate life and faith and grow in that relationship with God through His Son. And locally, one of the things I'm most excited about is something we've been doing the last 15 years in Park Heights. We have a youth football program called the FCA Park Heights Saints, led by an incredible man named Garrick Williams. He started the program, and we've kind of come alongside, partnered 9 youth teams, 100% independent, every year having to raise his own funds, and we help them raise those funds, about 30, 40 cheerleaders. So we're talking 250 kids in an at-risk community in our own city. So it's right on Reisterstown Road between Northern Parkway and Cold Spring Lane. They practice at, sometimes it's called Lucille Park or Jack Paulson Park, right on Reisterstown Road. They play their home games there. And we're now building a small little community center in a renovated row house. We're basically given a dilapidated, broken-down row house. We put some money and resource. People have volunteered and given tremendous resource. And we're really excited. We're going to have a ribbon cutting in March for that new little community center right next to the field. Just trying to be a light and make a difference in the lives of kids in some of our tougher communities.
Well, I'm about to launch Baltimore Positive, and those are the kinds of stories we want to be telling, Frank. So I will see you on Monday night. Celebration and fundraising banquet. Join them on March the 4th for the Maryland FCA. That's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. John Harbaugh, you know him. He'll be speaking on Monday night. I'm still tallying off from Lou Holtz a couple years ago. Ben Watson came out last year. Almost got him into the Super Bowl again this year, right? So
I know.
Other than for one call in the game, and I'll be taking that up at the owners' meetings next month as well. Frank, what's going on at Calvert Hall? Everything good out there, too?
Everything's great. Yes, sir.
All right.
Nestor.
Well, go Cardinals.
Thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for all you do for Baltimore.
Appreciate you. Frank Kelly, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. It's mdfca.org. And, of course, you can find him out on LinkedIn and Kelly and Associates and all the great work that they're doing in the big, beautiful building up in Hunt Valley, just in Sparks now. It's above Hunt Valley, right? York Road. So go find him. Frank Kelly and the whole Kelly family, always doing good stuff from lacrosse and baseball and community fundraising and, of course, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn radio app. We come in crystal clear from anywhere in the world. I'm out on Facebook and LinkedIn and Snapchat and Instagram and streaming live right here on our Facebook Live as well as our YouTube WNSTV channel. You can see my John Harbaugh good poster behind me. Yes, it's good. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.